A very good evening and welcome back to Havana Media. My name is Boniface Owino, and as usual I'm going to be your host for today. Now, there is something that I would like us to talk about. I've had Prof. Ogola talking about something which I would like you to listen to, or I would love to play to you so that at least you also listen to. He was talking about this issue of John Mbadi being the treasurer. Of course, we know that the budget of 2026 to 2025-2026 is going to be read mid this year, and the treasurer is Honorable John Mbadi. That is one of the experts that was given to William Ruto from ODM by Raila Amolo Odinga. People were celebrating. Let me start by asking that. Those who are celebrating, most of those who are coming from Nyanza, the Luos who are celebrating that they are in government, that Kikuyus have enjoyed so much, so right now it's their turn to enjoy. Can you tell me what is happening? Like, are you really enjoying it? Or if you're enjoying it, what is showing that right now you're enjoying it? Or were you just making noise simply because one of you was given a position in which you didn't even know what is coming to do with that position? Because one thing I'm sure of is that since John Mbadi entered government, there's no project he has, not even a single project he has done in his own area. So tell me what he's going to do. People like Junet Mohamed have been making a lot of noise on social media, but since they were elected, they've never even gone back to their constituency. Sooner East is crying. People are crying that the member of parliament that they elected, thinking that maybe it's going to work, Junet Mohamed has done nothing. And those are the kind of leaders that people are looking at, that they need to be followed. How can you follow someone that doesn't even understand who he is? Someone doesn't even understand what he's supposed to do. How are you going to follow that person? How is that person going to help you? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. Now, John Mbadi is saying that the counties are supposed to be reduced. We have so many counties, and these counties are draining the money from the treasury. Now, I want to ask this question: when was these counties formed? When these counties were being formed, is this no John Mbadi? I think John Mbadi is among the people that were supporting the formation of the counties. So why is it that right now he's in the government is again saying that these counties should be reduced? Okay, they should be reduced to what? If at all they are reduced, here there are two things. Number one, the counties have got the disadvantages. The disadvantage of the county is this: when money comes from the national treasury or from the national government, it's going down to the county government. The governors are the people that enjoys this money. That is a fact. In as much as they do a lot of small projects, but they really enjoy this money. They buy cars, they live a lavish life, they don't care about other people. So that is one of the disadvantages, is that the governors are the people that normally enjoy from this money that comes to the county level. The money for the projects, they take them and do their own projects. Live a lavish life, buy cars, build houses, make sure that their families are safe. So those are the kind of things that they do. So counties have got these advantages, just like I've said. Another disadvantage is that people hope that the projects are going to be done. They're not being done. And the advantage of these counties is that sometimes it makes it really helps, more so for those counties that the governors, the members of parliament are working. Like say, for instance, if you go to, I think it's Kirinyaga, where we have got Kirinyaga County, not even Kirinyaga County. Do we really have, I think it's Kirinyaga. Not Kirinyaga. But my question is this: why is it that John Mbadi is thinking, or is having this idea of the county government being reduced? What is his plan? And the governors have also said that they're going to shut down. Now, they're saying that they're going to shut down the counties. They're not going to work in the counties anymore. I've been wondering, like, okay, you want to shut down counties. What have you been doing that right now is when you feel like you want to shut these counties? There is something that Prof. Ogola is saying here, just like I've said, concerning this issue of John Mbadi, treasury, county governments, and all that. I would like you to listen to it and also drop me a comment in the comment section. Until we meet again, I've been your host, Boniface Owino. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been told that we have a new chef in town, Honorable John Mbadi, is going to read his maiden statement. I'm sure maiden budget in Parliament. I'm sure the whole of Homa Bay County is looking forward to seeing their son. The Luo Nation is waiting to see their son carry that briefcase for the first time, going to read the budget in Parliament. That is his maiden budget. I'm sure some of you remain very hopeful about this budget. But I'm an economist. I've read that budget. I can tell you that budget promises nothing to you, Kenyans, fellow Kenyans. There is no change taking place. For a long time, there's been a lot of prejudices that Luos, the day Luos will run Treasury will deliver. But then there's a problem that William Ruto has done. If William Ruto wanted to choose a Luo to lead the Treasury, he could have chosen the most competent Luo in economic and planning to head that very important docket. You can't choose an accountant in a department that needs economic and planning. Accountants originally have been known as people who do postmortem. They'll do postmortem to tell you how the economy died. That's what they're good at. They'll tell you this or this happened. They can do accounting. They can do auditing to tell you how things went wrong. But they might not be very predictive because that comes from the Department of Planning. I'm an economist. I know it. I'm not just an economist by reading books. I'm a hard-nosed economist. I've published over 4 books in economics. I've taught economy in Europe, in the US, in India, in Kenya, and nearly everywhere. I can tell you very well that if Ruto loved the Luo Nation, he could have picked the best and brightest in economic and planning and put them there. They could have delivered. I know some people are saying that you don't need to be an economist because you have advisors. That is fine. But when you cannot, if you can get directly someone to deliver, why do you need to get somebody, then get someone to advise them? If you want to marry, for example, will you marry a woman who does not know how to cook? Then you say, she doesn't know how to cook anything, but then she can get a house help to help her cook. Now, the house help does not behave like a chef to design the food for the husband. It is a wife who designs the food for the husband. Maybe the house help can just help cook. But the designing of the cook, the menu, is more important. So I can still disagree with the people saying that you don't need an expert in economics to run a treasury. You just need anyone else to offer leadership. Because if you look at it, I forgot about the issues of qualification. Let's go to where the matter sits. I have read John Mbadi's maiden budget policy statement, and I found it wanting with the following. First, John Mbadi has emphasized deeply the fact that he needs to bridge the budget deficit. What John Mbadi doesn't know, that if you look at data from 2001 to 2021, there's a high positive correlation between budget deficit and economic growth and economic development. Therefore, bridging budget deficit is not a strategy in any economic planning. And maybe that's why he's an accountant. He will only learn that after running the economy for 1 year, discovering that by bridging the budget deficit, he has not offered any economic growth or economic development. Second thing, which is very important, budget deficit in the US is higher than budget deficit in Kenya. Budget deficit in Singapore is higher than the Kenyan one. Budget deficit in China is higher than the Kenyan one because the budget deficit in Kenya is 3.1% to GDP. The one for China is 4.9% to GDP, and the one for the US is 6.1% to GDP. I remember the US economy is around $19 trillion. So 6.9% is bigger than the Kenyan economy. China is $17.8 trillion. So 4.6% is much higher than the Kenyan GDP. So that is not supposed to worry you. Budget deficit is not an enemy to the economy. There are 3 enemies to the economy. 1, the interest rate. 2, the exchange rate. And 3, what they call inflation. These ones is what Mbadi was supposed to focus on how to lower. But then he has lowered one of them, but the way he's lowering them is not helping us because John Mbadi has said he is lowering the interest rate so that Kenyans can have money in their pocket. Let me remind John Mbadi that 19 million Kenyans are on CRB. When 19 million Kenyans are on CRB, Even if you lower interest rate to negative, that is 66% of the adult population. 19 million is 66% of the Kenyan adult population. If you lower interest rate even up to -2, they can still not borrow because they are in CRB. Secondly, half of the Kenyans more than half of Kenyans borrowed money under Fuliza and they have not paid. So even if you lower the interest rate, they still cannot borrow because Hustler Fund has blocked them from borrowing money. Third, Kenyans borrow a minimum of 2.5 billion shillings per day in Fuliza. So if that is the amount of money they are borrowing, 500, 600, 1,000, 2,000, they are unable to benefit from the interest rate you are talking about. So that's another thing you propose in the economics budget policy statement, which is not helpful. The third and the last concern I have with the budget policy statement is that if you read the Kenyan budget policy statement, it is actually talking about something that should be able to interest you in a big way, because the budget has increased from 3.9 trillion last year to 4.3 trillion this year, meaning that is 400 billion increment in budget. If you look at percentage growth in that budget, that is 38% percentage growth in a budget. Now, if the budget has grown by 38%, over 38%, while the revenue, which means the GDP, is growing at 4.8%, it means that the budget is growing faster than the revenue Kenya is generating, which means that Kenya is having a negative return on investment. Let me put this easy for you to understand. Suppose you're a businessman or a woman, and then your costs, your operating cost, marketing cost, all the costs you run are growing at 38%, while the revenue you collect is growing at 4.8%. Can you run a profitable business? Is there any need to continue investing in such a business? So that's what route I'm telling you. I'm telling you, Mbadi. I'm telling all the government officials that you cannot run an economy which revenue is growing at 4.8%, while your cost of generating that revenue is growing at 38%. Therefore, this Kenyan budget is a sinful budget. What's the solution? The solution, we need to run a lean and clean government, and broad-based government is the opposite of a lean and clean government, because the broad-based government is grossly corrupt and grossly incompetent. But the fact that the education sector is in shambles. I've seen changes taking place in the cabinet and the PSS. Those changes are not going to address the incompetence which are in those departments, whether in health or education. But nevertheless, let me allow the other people who have been appointed to the cabinet to show. But I can tell you, even if you bring the best and brightest around those things, William Ruto is the de facto minister. William Ruto is the de facto PS. William Ruto will not behave like Kibaki did by allowing his ministers and assistant ministers and the PSS room to work, because William is the one launching houses, he's the one producing chapatis, he's the one doing everything. So even if those guys are there, they are just there as hangers on, but they're not the technocrats doing the business. So for that matter, if you like it, stay away from that government, because this government is about to fail. Our work as alternative leaders is to work on economic model, which we will tell you is going to turn around this economy. So please, just wait and see what we are going to unveil soon, which is going to cure the youth unemployment and the rest. Because I can tell you, the biggest problem John Mbadi could have focused on is youth unemployment, because that's what made the Gen Z go to the street, that made him become a minister. The unemployment rate in Kenya is 60% of the youth is unemployed. 20% of the youths are underemployed. That brings us to 80% of the youths who do not realize their full potential. That figure is growing at 35% annual growth. While the economy is growing at 4.8%, which means if nothing happens significantly, those youths will never ever work. They are going to get retired before they get tired, because if you have not worked, you are not tired enough to retire. And for us, we are proposing a model that will bring youth unemployment to zero Because if youths are not at work, even the parents are not safe. Thank you.